maybe I'm just getting old, maybe I just don't understand the need for blind hate. I guess you guys are going to have to watch the video, and after listening through it, let me know what you think and who you believe to be in the right or in the wrong at the end. Now, if you haven't played Blue Archive, then you have probably been living under a rock. It is a huge new anime RPG that broke onto the scene recently, offering some highly sought after waifu bait and decent overall gameplay mechanics. Nexon, the publisher, and yeah, Nexon. But Nexon, the publisher for the game, however, has come under heavy fire, as have the actual developers in the last few days because, well, they censored one of the female characters, Alice. More than just her, the entire scene. In the off chance that this video actually gets hit with a community guideline strike, I am going to omit part of the image, but suffice it to say, everything is shown in the Korean version. Everything. The developers, however, promised that when this game released globally, there would be absolutely no censorship whatsoever. Evidently, that was not the case. Kim Young-ha, the producer of the game, released a public statement addressing what happened, going on to state that the reason for the censorship was due to external influences, aka Western companies. The entire statement, as can be seen on screen, goes on to elaborate a little bit. They didn't consider the various different regional situations that might occur within each region, which, I don't know, to me is honestly kind of shocking. You guys have been developing and publishing games for how long now, and you weren't aware that different regions might perceive what is and what is not acceptable differently? Come on. The scenario difference between regions is not due to the policy of development studios and publishers favoring or neglecting certain regions. Rather, they had no choice but to respond to external requests. They had very limited options. They could either remove the content entirely, which would enrage players. They could modify the images, which would enrage players, or they could change how the scene was viewed, which would, as you may have guessed it, enrage players. Honestly, well, I think it's rather short-sighted for the developers and for the publishers to not see this coming. I also think that it's kind of, I don't know, a lose-lose regardless of how you approach remedying the situation. In closing, he did go on to note that there may be additional alterations made to the game for other regions, as it is inevitable. However, they will do what they can to preserve as much of the scene as possible, which honestly, evidently does not really mean much, if anything at all. And this is where things begin to get a little bit interesting to me. Now, I'm not a supporter of review bombing. I have made this opinion very apparent when people review bombed Bless Unleashed. Even though I was not really a very large, very vocal supporter of the game, I still did not believe in review bombing it, especially given that the majority of those reviews, those negative reviews, were left by people that didn't actually even play the game. I do not think that review bombing is a good way to resolve your issues with a product, nor do I think that it's really fair in most scenarios. In this instance, players review bombing Blue Archive, taking the rating for the game all the way down to 1.6 star. I mean, sure, it's probably a little higher right now, as they have been slowly moving through, removing all of the negative reviews that were left as a direct result of the alteration of the scene, but I don't know. This kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't support review bombing, I noted that, but at the same time, I also don't support censorship. However, in this instance, it was censored due to the age of the character, which is something that I actually do definitely genuinely support, which I guess leaves me in the minority, as there were tens of thousands of players leaving negative reviews, posting online, raging at the developers, the publisher, when the reality of it is, the West just does not allow that type of material, typically anyway, in our video games. I know it's easy to just lash out angrily at the team and blame them for altering the scene and potentially altering additional scenes somewhere down the line in the future, or even characters. But again, this is something that they should have already been well aware of. Like, If you wanted to avoid this, they should have just omitted inclusion of Alice showing more of herself at that age than she should be. This solves the problem entirely. If the scene never existed, it never would have been censored. Or if they just had an above the shoulders angle for everyone internationally, again, it would have been resolved. It would never have even been an issue. Furthermore, people took to social media to leave a barrage of feedback for the developers, and while I cannot confirm this personally, there are accusations being made that the official Blue Archive Twitter account were hiding replies. I really cannot make this kind of stuff up. There are legitimately tens of thousands of players rallying in support of showing Alice, who was depicted in the scene younger than what is acceptable by Western standards. Am I just old-fashioned? I don't know. Don't get me wrong, like I genuinely think the developers of Blue Archive are brain dead if they did not see this coming. But at the same time, while I think they've handled this terribly, they really have, is it wrong that I also believe fans not only want the wrong thing uncensored, but also that how they went about responding to the censorship was a little bit over the top? Censorship is bad. And I understand they might be upset that this could potentially mean additional censorship in the future, and nobody ever wants that. But this scene being the reason for all of this hate just seems asinine to me. All in all, what an absolutely ridiculous situation this is. But these kinds of videos are what you can expect over on my spin-off STIX channel for those of you that aren't aware that I have one. But what do you guys think? I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make it.